Tony Kinnett.
Tony Kinnett.
Tony Kinnett.
Tony Kinnett.
Tony Kinnett. Tony Kinnett.
Tony Kinnett.
Host of the Tony Kinnett Cast.
Let's get down to business.
You're listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WYPC.
WCYTV.
Here on the Daily Signal.
Well, it is just one special time to be in the broadcasting world because I've got a lot of great news, awkward news, cringy news, and just people being stupid to share with you. Good evening. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal, nationally syndicated around the country to our various radio and TV partners, and of course, the live streams on X as well as YouTube. That's the place that I recommend that you tune in because you can engage with all of the wonderful people in the live chat and also those who are a few light bulbs short of a ceiling fan. So moving right into the big news, President-elect Donald J. Trump has now announced that Scott Bessent is going to be his nomination for the Treasury Secretary. This is according to Innocent Defender, a seasoned Wall Street professional. And this is the important part here, founder of the Key Square Group. And this decision was apparently confirmed during a Mar-a-Lago meeting. And Kevin Warsh and Mark Rowan have been passed up. This is yet another maverick in the Trump picks. That brings us over to Matt Gaetz, who has stepped down from consideration. There's a lot of stuff flying around about why he stepped down and why he's not returning to the 119th Congress either, even though he technically could do so because he only resigned from the 118th. And there was a lot of screeching from a lot of people over on the left, a few on the right. There was a lot of head scratching for sure on the right on choosing Gaetz for the AG nomination. I had suggested that it was likely because the man is actually a pretty decent boxer in the committees, which is one of the things that Trump was kind of looking for, was that committee Republican mindset in the AG position. And so the left screeched and cried and wailed, and they ended up getting what it is that they wanted. They wanted Matt Gaetz removed. And then they ended up getting something far worse for them than they wanted. And that is former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi. Now, not only did she serve as the Florida Attorney General twice, not only was she the first woman to serve in the position of Attorney General in the state of Florida, she is extremely hawkish when it comes to the illegal immigration issues, when it comes to things like drug trafficking and drug law enforcement, especially regarding fentanyl and the pill mills and factories and kind of in-house shop stuff in Florida, or the meth labs if you get close to Jacksonville. And she's very, very hawkish on those particular things. I could go into a lot of reasons why I think that she's kind of a powerhouse. But first, we need to take a look at what, at least for her, has kind of dominated her persona in front of the American people. Check it out.
Well, I was a prosecutor. I was a homicide prosecutor for 18 years. I was Florida's first female attorney general. And I was special advisor to Donald Trump, Office of White House Counsel. That was the greatest gift Mark Cuban could give Donald Trump, I think, by saying something so ignorant and stupid. So I have a message for Mark Cuban from all of us here tonight. Underestimate us. This is going to be fun.
And that is basically that's kind of the attitude that she's bringing to the AG. So she's still the wrecking ball that Trump is looking for, that Gaetz was focusing in on, without a lot of the scandals. Now, there are two things that people are picking up on. Those on the left that are very, very upset, and then those that are on the right that are unhappy as well. So let's hit the stuff on the right first because it's the easiest to parse. There are some criticisms that she is like in favor of red flag laws. Red flag laws are anti-Second Amendment procedures in which if the state receives word that you are unstable or a threat to yourself and others, which the same thing, then they can basically preemptively restrict your access to your own firearms. That is unconstitutional. It also is not a system that can be brought, like every other citizens reporting citizen style localized policy. It does not work in practice because people are petty. Now, here's the fun part. Those that are worried about her actions regarding red flag laws, the Attorney General has jack and squat to do with pushing red flag laws on the states. So that should not at all be any kind of a concern in any way, shape, or form. So that said, we can move on to the reason the left is absolutely incensed at Pam Bondi. Number one, they're upset because she's competent. And that sounds like something like a talk show host would say, oh, they're mad at her because she's competent. Oh, man. No, here's MSNBC actually losing it on a panel, screaming over and over, she's competent, like Schmeagol talking about his precious.
Pam Bondi is exactly what I was saying in the last segment that we should all fear, because she's competent. We may not agree with her ideologically, but she actually knows how to do this job. So if anyone on the Democratic side or anyone who cared about liberty or justice was thinking, well, maybe Matt Gaetz will screw this up and that'll give us some time. No, Pam Bondi knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing about immigration. Remember, Florida is one of those states that's been very aggressive about migrants and deportation and moving people to different states and everything else like that. Florida has enacted.
Look at his speech picking up as he gets more nervous as he's talking. Maybe he's also nervous because MSNBC's ratings are in complete disarray. They're not even able to secure the basic demographics. So this is the point where we actually get to talk a little bit about Rachel Maddow. Rachel Maddow is receiving a big, huge pay cut. There's apparently a big lineup shakeup that's coming because MSNBC is not even being watched. Comcast is at this point saying change everything or we're just going to sell you to the doves. And it's pretty wild. The View, in the same way, is also having just a catastrophic collapse. Sunny Hostin, for the second or third day in a row, has had to read a legal notice. This is her third legal notice that she's had to read because she's engaging in defamatory behavior on air, basically accusing Matt Gaetz of everything. Now she has to walk it back because the Trump campaign is going to sue them for every last dollar and viewer. I can't say viewers, but every last viewer that might be sticking around the View. Here's Sunny Hostin eating crow third time in a row.
I have a legal note.
You want to take this one, Joy, or are you
Matt
good?
Gaetz has long denied all allegations and has not been charged with any crime.
That's true.
Also, another legal note, Pete Hegseth's lawyer said he paid the woman in 2023 to head off the threat of a baseless lawsuit.
Oh.
He has denied any wrongdoing.
That's interesting. Pay off the witness.
A fun fact here, and again, as usual, thank you, Newsbusters, for that particular clip. A little quick point here, just for Joy Behar, who doesn't understand anything about legal terminology that a third grader would be able to parse. He did not pay off the witness. In this case, he would be paying off the plaintiff of a lawsuit. You're not paying off the witness. That would be witness tampering. That's illegal. However, and this should be noted, a large number of civil suits are settled out of court not because the parties are guilty or innocent, because court systems and legal civil cases in the United States are ridiculously expensive and time-consuming. The whole quick and speedy trial applies to criminal courts, and that's not even always extremely quick, speedy, right to the point. So these settlements often occur in which someone comes forward and makes... By the way, it's a very shaky way to do a legal system in the United States, and it does need reform, but this is in no way, shape, or form unusual at all. It also should be pointed out, by the way, that in Pete Hegseth's case, the lady that was accusing him of things left her hotel room where her husband and kid were sleeping and then went up to his hotel room and then didn't report anything until 5 days later. Just a very weird he said, she said kind of situation. So maybe don't make big accusations about it on national television. Just fun tip there for Sunny Hostin, if you're considering not being sued into oblivion. Speaking of big lawsuits, the Manhattan District Attorney case has now had the sentencing canceled. That's right, indefinitely now, folks. It's a very, very special time to be alive if you're banking all of your savings on Trump being president from Rikers. That ain't happening, Captain. Judge Merchan has now basically just opened it into sentencing indefinitely, by the way, which is also probably not constitutional. You can't just say you're guilty, but we'll sentence you sometime between now and the time you hop into the grave. Not really a thing. Some questions there. This is the kicker, though. The judge has apparently asked to file papers to completely dismiss the case. So at this point, you really have to wonder, what was it all worth? What was the big hullabaloo? It really appears to be a case in which Trump either won or went to prison. He either won his race to the White House, or he was shackled away because of a political prosecution in which a member of the DOJ under Merrick Garland left the DOJ to take a lower paying job in the Manhattan District Court right before Trump was investigated, brought federal charges down to a state level, which is not legal, to charge Trump 32 separate times in a very spurious case where Merchan wouldn't even allow certain witnesses to testify, and then bring Trump up on these charges again to try to damage him in the American electorate's view. And it didn't work. Up next, we're going to be talking a little bit to Rebecca Downs, because if you think this stuff is wild, wait until we actually get to the Senate and the House on Capitol Hill. There is a trans battle that is one for the ages, or at least one for the bathrooms. Stick around. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal, nationally syndicated and first on 93 WIBC.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Chaos on Capitol Hill. Did you like that little frisky, exciting opening there? You know, really catch all the viewers. Welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast. We're here, nationally syndicated radio, TV, streaming services. Your Roku, Joku, Badoku TV probably gets it. I don't know. You'll have to ask your mom later this evening. We're joined by Rebecca Downs from townhall.com, a great sister publication. Really like a lot of the work that they do. Great team. She sees all of the junk that's flying around Capitol Hill and going up on the website. And this is a horrible segue. I already feel bad about it. Speaking of horrible junk flying around on Capitol Hill, Sarah McBride, the transgender dude, male, woman, guy thing that has been elected from Delaware, is very upset because he is not allowed to use women's restrooms at Capitol Hill. Rebecca, horrible segues aside, why don't you tell us about it?
Sure. So earlier this week, Mike Johnson, the speaker, made clear that the statement he made was not about new rules about bathrooms, right? These rules are already in place, unwritten. They're just making it official that members must use the restroom of their biological sex. What a concept, right? So for anybody who's complaining about how unfair that might be to McBride or other transgender people, members, all of them, have their own offices. There's also unisex bathrooms. So it's a lot of, people trying to make it a big deal of where in ways that it's not really.
Mm-hmm. So, and this is the really weird thing that gets on my nerves a little bit, is that the media who's purported over the last couple of years that the left is all about being the protector of women's rights and women's freedoms and all this other stuff. And again, on the surface, using those terms, it sounds really good. Oh, women's freedom. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's only actually about abortion. When it comes to keeping women,
exactly,
especially survivors of sexual assault, like Representative
Nancy Mace.
Yeah, exactly. They pushed her. Well, here, we'll show you guys the clip.
So if that being a feminist makes me an extremist, I'm totally here for it.
Is this effort in response to Congresswoman McBride's coming to Congress?
Yes, and absolutely, and then some. I'm not going to stand for a man, if someone with a penis is in the women's locker room, that's not okay. And I'm a victim of abuse myself. I'm a rape survivor. I have PTSD from the abuse I've suffered at the hands of a man. And I know how vulnerable women and girls are in private spaces. So I'm absolutely 100% going to stand in the way of any man who wants to be in a women's restroom, in our locker rooms, in our changing rooms. I will be there fighting you every step of the way.
So, victim of sexual assault has this crazy idea. I don't want to be next to a dude who takes pictures of himself in the women's restroom. I know. Rebecca, I got to ask you, I know, crazy ideas, crazy concepts here. Do you see any big long-term fallout from this on Capitol Hill? What do you think that we're going to see in the next couple of weeks? I know that Hakeem Jeffries has whined about it. What's coming down the pike?
That's an excellent question. So I do want to point out, when you talk about the Democratic Party and women's rights, not only are they solely focused on abortion, which of course goes against unborn women's rights, they can't even define a woman, right? They're so biologically illiterate. So it's almost, it would be laughable if we weren't talking about such a serious topic. As for the fallout on Capitol Hill, I think it's important to note that transgender issues overall were actually a winning topic for Republicans this election cycle. Even the New York Times admitted that.
Right.
You have a very vocal mainstream press who was crying about how Nancy Mace and Republicans are so mean to Republican-elect McBride. And they themselves have said they are going to treat this person with respect. It's just a matter of basic biology, for one, as Speaker Johnson has said it, and women's rights and women's safety and women's protection, as Nancy Mace has said it.
Right. We don't have time to play the clip at the moment, but of course, Speaker Johnson came out and he also articulated, and this has been covered on Town Hall and the Daily Signal.
Yes, I have covered it. Yeah.
The comments that he made were that there are not only private bathrooms for use in the various offices in the House of Representatives and, of course, the United States Senate, but there are also unisex, like family restrooms all over the Capitol as well. So again, it seems like in this case, it's not a big issue for the dude to just go to a restroom that is not gender specific or his own office, if he's so stinking upset about it.
Members, like, that makes sense that members, regardless of sex or gender identity, that they have bathrooms in their offices. I would want members to have that luxury. We all should. It would be better off that way.
Well,
it's really not a big deal.
Then we have John Fetterman, and he strolls out and he's like, well, I just want everyone to know that Sarah McBride can use my restroom anytime they want. She wants, he wants, whatever. And that cracked me up because there's no gender sign on Senator Fetterman's bathroom. So no. Also, I think it's a little weird to tell someone, hey, you can come use my toilet anytime you want. Ew.
So you and I have talked about the great senator from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania before, and he is good on some issues. And I think his heart, in many ways, I do. I came around on him, is in the right place.
Right.
But it's just, this is a perfect example. I think this issue overall of where your intentions might be noble, or you might think they sound good to you and everybody else who's of the same persuasion, it comes off in the wrong way. It does come off creepy. Like, what are they is he gonna go with him in that restroom? Like, you almost insinuated that there. So I see where he's coming out. My first reaction was how completely unnecessary that is, because members have their own restrooms.
I guarantee
Even
that
if
there was
McBride
some staffer in Fetterman's office took the lead on writing that tweet. It has to be. It has to be. So we got to slide along because, again, time being short, so much chaos on the Capitol Hill never stops.
Exactly.
We already covered Lockett's insane racial rant in Congress. That brings us now to the last couple of weeks here, the rest of November, not much of it left, then December.
I know.
And then it's new Congress time.
Ooh.
And I got to ask, we talk about the squad a lot, and we talk about some of the motions that are going to be passed very early on. We had AOC saying, baby girl, and the insanity of committees just getting a little bit more ramped up. Do you think that right now, it seems that the voters are wanting a little bit of a return to normalcy, tired of the ranting. But is that what we're going to see on Capitol Hill? Or are we going to get more duke it out committee hearing fistfights? Because I got to tell you, the entertainment side of me certainly wants one of those.
Yeah, as a news host, I imagine you do. Gets you a lot of fodder. Right?
Guilty.
AOC.
Yes.
AOC and Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett is not a member of the squad, but
Crockett,
Lord, sometimes she is worse. Sometimes she is worse, I think.
She's kind of like Mr. Crocker. She's a very good parents.
Very good parents.
Oh my gosh, yes. My daughter's been watching that recently. Don't get me started. She is from the most Democratic district in Texas, and it absolutely shows. And I think it's so fascinating. Sorry to go on a side, but I think it's so fascinating that, there are parts of the country that are like this. So there are parts of the country that are like this. For better or worse, she represents her people well, unfortunately. It seems they keep electing her. I think until people like AOC and Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and Jasmine Crockett keep getting elected, we are going to keep seeing it. It seems to keep happening with the Oversight Committee, which has a special place in my heart and has for years because I've been covering those committees for various reasons since 2015, and that's always where it gets exciting, I find. I think it's going to keep happening. I think it's a sad state of Congress, but it also shows why Congress has such low approval ratings.
This brings us to the Senate nomination hearings, and there aren't as many kind of showboaty, squad on the left and, your Gates, Marjorie Taylor Greenes, your Lauren Boeberts in the Senate from the right.
Thank goodness.
So, yeah, true. But I got to get a little bit of your perspective on this. Do you think that we're going to see any fireworks in the Senate? Last time those were provided by Kamala Harris, remember, who was accusing everyone of all kinds of crazy, insane stuff.
Oh, yes. And look where she ended up.
Who's left on the Senate to carry the torch of the wackadoodle?
In the Senate, I think, unfortunately, age is not a factor in making you more mature. Mazie Hirono is no spring chicken, and she has had a lot of dumb comments. Dick Durbin, I don't think is terrible when it comes to that's such an idiotic thing to say. I almost think that makes him more dangerous, though, because Dick Durbin has a lot of power. He is the Senate majority whip and the Senate Judiciary Chairman for the 118th Congress that's about to end. But he's got a lot of power. And him and Sheldon Whitehouse. Sheldon Whitehouse is a little more kooky.
Oh, I forgot. I don't know.
Yeah, how do you forget about him? He and Dick Durbin team up, right? Because they're both on the Judiciary Committee. And Sheldon Whitehouse is a subcommittee chairman, right? So he's got power to him as well. I believe that there's a good chance Dick Durbin will be ranking member if that's not already been decided. Same thing with Sheldon Whitehouse for his subcommittee. They have a lot of power, and Sheldon Whitehouse goes on those kooky rants and those kooky.
I love them.
Yeah, again, fodder.
It's great.
Fodder.
Yeah, great entertainment fodder. We'll tell you what we'll do. We might actually get a little bit of a crew together, and we'll watch some of these Senate nomination hearings, maybe live on the show. A little bit of wild commentary thrown in there, but it'll be fun. Rebecca Downs, townhall.com. A little bit of chaos on Capitol Hill's always good at the end of the year.
Gotta love it.
Thanks very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be back in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal, nationally syndicated, still first on 93 WIBC.
Morgan.
Awful tweets, the ones that no one ever deletes. Awful tweets on the Tony Kinnett Show.
On 93 WIPC.
Well, it's time for some awful tweets yet again. It's that magical time when Jerry Lopez, Indie Spanglish over on X, joins us here on the show to go over just some of the absolute worst, I mean, just the stinkiest garbage that the left has. Only this time, Jerry, we've got a little something special for everybody. Why don't you tell us a little bit on what we can expect for this particular segment of awful tweets?
Yeah, so the good Lord above has blessed us with a new social media platform called Bluesky, which is going to be delivering we can do the whole segment on Bluesky if you wanted to. It's, we're getting that time of year where it's freezing outside, and I'm wondering why my Cuban butt is in Indiana, but it's moments like this that make it worth it, Tony.
Well, let's, dig right in, because we've got from Bluesky, the app that everyone on the left is running to, some of just the grossest of the filth. Now, unfortunately, Jerry, we need a little bit of a disclaimer here. So normally, there's how awful tweets works. You guys out there in the wide blue beyond, whether you're listening to the YouTube or the Twitter live stream, or you're chiming in via the radio or the TV syndicated partners, maybe you're catching the podcast later, you send us the worst social media posts you can find. X, Facebook, LinkedIn for some reason. I don't know, you got something up on MySpace, a really awful article in your local or national media. You send it to us. Bluesky, though, we got to put an asterisk. Bluesky has a bit of a problem, Jerry, and it's, children diddling kind of stuff. The website, apparently, this is according to reports, has had over 30,000 reports of various kinds of child exploitation material in the last couple of days, and it's so don't send us any of that. And if you go on Bluesky to find content for us, I have images literally shut off. It will not display images from Bluesky to my phone. So it's so just kind of a disclaimer there. So we'll get right into the awful tweets themselves. This first one's from a person who looks like Smeagol with a Aerosmith wig on. Hello, new followers who don't know me. Here's a brief thread on who I am and what I do. Oh, a little Bluesky post, a little introduction here. I am a map, not like from Dora, like a minor attracted person. Mm-hmm. With 7 years of experience in online MAP communities across varying social media. I've seen good things and bad things there and emerged with a new understanding of myself. Good Lord, Jerry.
I mean, the whole thing is disgusting, man. If we're just going to be honest, parents, if you're listening, your child should not be on Bluesky. You should go look at their phones and look for this one specifically. I mean, if you wanted to live in the Minority Report, do you remember that movie, Minority Report?
Right.
You could probably go to Bluesky and start doing pre-crime arrests for pedophilia. It is a cesspool over there. And the fact that they're going to talk about it so openly, and I know there's much more, is completely terrifying. And to put in perspective, these are the people that couldn't handle the Wild West of X.
So we're going to move on just a little and read a few more of these, as much as it hurts me. This is from somebody named Juanita, and I'm just going to not describe what people look like because it's almost as bad as the post itself. The MAP community deserves the same love and respect as all communities. Acts of hate and persecution against any marginalized group is unacceptable. I want to make this clear, Jer. The group who is proud of being attracted to minors, there is actually something that you can do with that group. And that is arrest them, and then if they've committed any kind of act against minors, I don't know, about a 10-foot rope seems appropriate from the state office.
I think the part that frustrates me is she says marginalized groups. There are groups that have been historically marginalized. I don't think the MAP or whatever term they're trying to coin now for them, I don't think they qualify. So it's almost offensive for her to put the black fist up next to the trans flag and the LBGT flag. They're not the same.
So we're going to move on from the awkward kid diddling stuff for just a second to a different Bluesky post. This is from someone named Lillian Marie. So got that wine mom energy going strong here. She says, kill Donald Trump, kill his VP, Vance, kill his cabinet picks. This is the only way to save the United States of America.
The only way to save this nation, I lose if I stand by quietly. There's no victory condition for me if I stay quiet. I support the assassination of Trump. So says Lillian Marie.
Here's the sad part. But if you put there are only two genders and hit post on Blue Sky, it's been posted on X. I don't have a Blue Sky account. I have no need to go look. It gets flagged immediately, and your account gets like a suspension. If you just put there are only two genders, there's some kind of algorithm that says, nope, you can't say that. But this post was allowed to go. That's just,
I'm sorry. This, by the way, the whole like rhetoric thing, when they say like Trump is Hitler, these are the kind of people that you're radicalizing. Just to be clear, that like if someone makes the OK symbol, that's suddenly some kind of like a secret, like violent racist dog whistle. But someone can post this and it stays up. So again, we're just going to skip a few of the Blue Sky. Again, more of the really creepy stuff. Apparently people are putting Greek symbols in their name, like the letter mu, which is like a U with a stick attached to it. That's to let people know that you're a pedo. Then there is the lowercase sigma, and that's an ebophile. And that's attraction to teenagers who aren't of age. And then there is the capital gamma symbol, and that's they call that an AAM. That's an adult attracted minor. So I guess that's how to signal to people that you want to be groomed. This is just disgusting. I mean, well, there you go. The left wanted a social media app, and boy, is it coming to work. Yikes.
It's almost like an online registry at this point. Like, it's disgusting. The fact that these conversations can happen just openly, it's horrible, man.
I tell you what.
I don't care where you stand politically. This stuff's disgusting.
Well, I'll tell you where this stands politically. Pam Bondi, she comes in here. Pam, I ask only that as Attorney General that you send the entire network of Blue Sky to Gitmo, where it belongs. So we're going to move past the trans autistic flag, even though I know we could certainly do a lot with that.
That one is a great one.
I know, but we only have so much time. And I got to show you this one from Keir Starmer, or Keir Fuhrer, the Prime Minister of the UK, who has announced, as Director of Public Prosecutions, I saw the terrible effect of antisocial behaviour firsthand and fought for justice for victims. As Prime Minister, I am delivering on my promise to tackle it with new respect orders, so people face the consequences of their actions. Oh my!
I mean, they accuse us of what they are. This is fascism. The stuff that they're pushing, it's exactly what they accuse the right of being. And now you're going to go to jail in the UK if you post a meme that somebody deems offensive. And who really deems what things are offensive? It's such a subjective thing. This is not going to be good. And I'm so happy that we voted for Trump and the Republicans won everything, because this was probably coming our way. Well,
you know, we did have. Let's see, which was John Kerry. And then, of course, Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton complaining that the First Amendment was too restrictive. But anyway, from MSNBC, the network that's doing very poorly at the moment, an article today that we got, I think I got sent this like 7 times. So it was definitely getting in the segment today. Laken Riley's killer never stood a chance. For all the political controversy surrounding the guy who killed Laken Riley, I'm not going to say his name because he's filth. The outcome of this trial was never in doubt. Oh, man, I'm so sorry. Did the illegal immigrant who murdered the college nursing student not get, like, I guess a free walk like he likely would have in New York? Goodness.
Well, here's some news for MSNBC. Laken Riley's killer doesn't stand a chance in prison. All right, so that outcome is it's never going to be in doubt. Hopefully,
it's a disgrace that he's allowed to go to prison
world
on the taxpayer dime. It is a disgrace. That's. Yeah. Well, and last but not least,
back, Tony, and he comes right back. So
last but not least, I was sent this this afternoon. Bernie Sanders was ranting in Congress about how we need to cut off funding from Israel. And he shared this picture of a child who is like, you can see their ribs and their shoulder muscles or their shoulder bones and things. And he's saying that it's Israel who is like starving and like killing children. And he shows this picture from Al Jazeera as like proof. Only there's a problem. That's actually not a picture of a starving child from Gaza. That is a child from somewhere completely different who has like a neuro like dystrophy disease, like a muscular dystrophy disease. So old Bernie Sanders just slapping up images so he can gripe about Israel. That day ending in Y.
Listen, anytime I hear Bernie Sanders speak, I just picture Larry David, so it ruins everything he says for me. But the reality is the left doesn't expect you to do any research at all. That's why they're the people on the left, like, they know nothing. They know no substance. They're not educated on things. It's all based on feelings. They don't want you to look anything up. Tony,
shooting Hamas members so I can buy my fourth mansion.
That's Larry David, man.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's about it, all the time we have for awful tweets this week. Jerry Lopez, Indy Spanglish over on X. Thanks very much, man.
Yeah, have a great weekend.
You too. We'll be back in just a second. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast.
Uh-oh, Brad.
Mail time.
Mail time. Mail time.
On the Tony Kinnett Cast.
Hey, welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast. Wrapping up the week with a bit of mail time. Haven't had it in a couple of weeks. So there have been a few questions that have piled up, but there was one question in particular that I wanted to discuss. And this would be about the role of the Attorney General. So there's a question that came in from Dawn, and not spelled D-O-N, but D-A-W-N.
And she asked, at least I sure hope that with a name like Dawn that it's a she. She said, "Hey, Tony, love the show. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. The Attorney General position has been politicized for a long time. I think of Eric Holder being Obama's wingman. What is the proper role of the Attorney General? And who would you like to see Trump nominate instead of Gates?" So this was after Gates had resigned, I'm guessing, but not actually before we actually saw Pam as the nomination. So yes, the Attorney General position has indeed been politicized for a very long time. Eric Holder did go around saying that he was Obama's wingman, and he did investigate and prosecute individuals, especially conservative organizations, at the whim of the President of the United States. That's a problem. However, and I say however because there's a pretty big asterisk that actually goes back to the Constitution of the United States. The Attorney General's office exists to do two things. Number one, it is to bring to bear the Department of Justice against foreign organizations operating in the United States who are violating the laws of the United States. And it is to move against those who are harming American citizens. So at the state level, at the national level, the Attorney General has one role primarily: to protect the citizens of the country from being taken advantage of. And by taken advantage of, I mean against their rights and against their property. So in the States, you have several attorney generals in this country which have done an admirable job at basically going after whomever they believe is on good credential or on good information, is going after or exploiting those in their states. Off the top of my head, I do think that Pam is in fact a very good choice, because when she was the Attorney General of Florida, she was very, very bullish on making sure that if there was a reasonable suspicion that there was an organization either in Florida or outside of Florida that was causing problems for Floridians, that she would order an investigation. And by the way, that's the job of the AG. There's this weird idea in American society that we believe the Attorney General's office, anytime that they open an investigation, it's political. No, the job of the Attorney General is to investigate things. That is the role that they have. Now, can it be excessively political? Yes. There's this idea on the left that the Attorney General position needs to be like antithetical to the president. No, that's not a thing. I'm sorry. The Attorney General is supposed to be the senior cop in the country. They are supposed to initiate, the senior detective, they are supposed to initiate key investigations. Now, thinking locally, at least for me where I'm from out here in Indiana, I believe that Todd Rokita is a pretty good picture of a Republican state attorney general that investigates a lot of different things and tries to make sure that the state's agencies are acting as they should for the benefit, according to the law, of all Hoosiers. That's how an attorney general should function. The problem with Merrick Garland is that Merrick Garland did not answer to his superiors. The Attorney General of the United States does not just answer to the President of the United States, like the Attorney General of the states answers to their governor. The Attorney General of the United States answers to the Congress of the United States. Here's where we run into problems. Eric Holder and Merrick Garland would look at Congress or congressional hearings, look at the congressman in the eye, and just say no, that they weren't going to do things. They were going to hide things instead. That is the problem with an Attorney General. What you want in a good Attorney General is transparency, and you want them to be investigating things nonstop, because there are a lot of foreign groups as well as domestic groups that are infringing on the rights of Americans. That is the role of the Attorney General. That is the constitutional role outlined. And by the way, the Attorney General used to be the actual first protector of the Monroe Doctrine back in the day. So there was even a little outward-facing stuff that involved that whole conversation. We'll be back on Monday with a little bit more here. This has been the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal, nationally syndicated first on 93 WIBC. Take care.
Okay, close your mouth.